Hey everyone, today we're going to check out the latest version of Arch Linux.
No, we're not. What do you think this is? The Loser Tech channel? No, this is the HS Tech channel, and in this video, we're going to check out, I'm not kidding, Solaris for IBM Mainframes. Yes, this is a real thing that exists, and we're going to check it out. Okay, so this is often called Project Cirrus, not to be confused with 50 other programs named Project Cirrus. This is a version of OpenSolaris that was ported to the IBM System Z architecture by Sine Nomine Associates in about 2009 or so, and this was made right before Oracle bought out Sun. It was presumed that IBM was going to buy Sun, at least that's what everyone was thinking, that Sun would be absorbed into IBM, and as such there were efforts from two different groups of people, one of which was to port OpenSolaris to the Power architecture, which I believe was called... oh, whatever. Anyway, it started with a P. Polaris. That's right. It was called Project Polaris, and that was the Power version of OpenSolaris. And then you had Project Cirrus, which was the System Z version of OpenSolaris, and that's what we're going to look at today. Now, unfortunately, OpenSolaris died a tragic death because, well, Oracle bought them out. But we're going to look at it regardless. This is, to my knowledge, the first time that this has been ran and demonstrated since it was made. Unfortunately, it was killed off pretty early on during development, so a lot of stuff doesn't work. But we're going to look at it anyways, and we're going to try as best as we can to persevere. So we'll go ahead and get logged in here. I have installed it under the default username of soldist, which is what it wants. And right away, we're going to see that we got thrown onto a virtual LAN switch, which is important. And we're running CMS. If we do a QV-DASD, you'll see that I have, of course, the CMS system disk. I have a CMS A disk, if you will, and I have two disks on two different disk packs, one of which is a full 3390 Model 3, and one of those is an almost full 3390 Model 1. This right here, of course, is TCP mate, and then this right here is this massive temporary disk. If we access this disk and look at it, you'll see that there's a bunch of things on here, and one of those right here is Sol200 image. Now this right here is actually the root file system dump. This is intended to be loaded off of a tape and restored directly to a mini disk. However, we're not going to do that because it's already been installed. We're just going to IPL the system and load it up and run it. Now if we look at this disk here as well as this disk here, there are these two disks that actually contain the root file system, and of course there's the A disk, which has on it serload module, and this is the only file on the disk. But if we qdisk C and then we qv-dasd1i1, actually we just have to do qv1i1, you'll notice that there's a bit of a discontinuity here. Okay, so this 191 disk, this A disk, CP says it's a 50-cylinder mini disk, but CMS says, oh, there's only 40 cylinders allocated. It's because our 191 disk is actually bootable, as evidenced by IPL 191, and when you IPL 191, it loads up Solaris. And then the root file system itself is stored in these files here. Note that it has this special file mode 6. If we do qdisk A, you'll see that it's used all the way up by one file, but it has that weird file mode. And if we look on the B disk as well, you see that I've put another special file on here. These are actually, in a way, disks. This is what Solaris uses for its disks. It's kind of strange and a little bit hard to explain, but the gist of it is that this is going to essentially emulate a normal 512 byte sector disk using cp-diag instructions. That's right. OpenSolaris on Z does not actually have drivers for like anything. It literally just crutches on CP to do everything. We also have attached to our VM a Open Systems adapter running in QDIO mode. So this right here is just a standard OSD Ethernet, and this right here, if we do QVSwitch VSW1 detail, is attached to it. So this vSwitch here is just a vSwitch that I've got running within VM. Now, the proper way to do this would be to dedicate it to a dedicated uplink port, if you will, but I don't have an uplink port defined. This is just like an internal vSwitch, and then soldist is on here, and then TCP/IP is on here as well. And then if we do a netstat home, after I access the disk, you'll see here that there's two. Yes, I know it says vSwitch none. I've never seen this say anything but none. It's kind of weird, but you'll see it right there. So this is the internal interface and this is the external interface. Our virtual machine is on the same LAN as this, okay? So that's what our simulated Ethernet card is. So let's recap what we've got so far before we boot. We have 512 megs of storage, in other words RAM. We have 2 processors. We have, okay, a console reader and printer and punch, no one cares about that. We have our boot disk, our root disk, and then our user disk. This V disk is used for paging space. This F00, this is just the installer file, and then we have our Ethernet adapter. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and IPL 191. And while we wait on it to IPL, I'll quickly remark on some of the other things that should be noted about this operating system. So this is a full port of OpenSolaris. The only thing that's missing is the NFS server and X Windows. That's literally it. It has a C compiler, it has sendmail, it has inetd. I mean, it's pretty much usable like you would expect, and I gotta admit, it's a lot easier to install than a period-accurate Linux image of the same vintage. If you were installing about a 2008-2009 era version of Linux, you'd have to go through a little bit more hoops. Of course, you have to boot the kernel from the punch card reader, as you do on VM. I can't help that, it's weird, but Solaris is a little bit more sane than that. Solaris actually uses the CP standalone IPL loader. So when you actually want to burn, if you will, burn the bootloader to a disk, you just use SAO IPL. Okay, so here we go. So this is March 23, 2009. This is it. This is the last version. And we're going to go ahead and bring it up here. And now we wait. And then this is the part where we have to do the most waiting. So while we wait on the IPL to continue, I'll keep on going. If we see any white text here, it means that we'll need to reinstall. Which I know sounds ridiculous, but this basically does not do any synchronous writing at all. Okay, well it looks like, oh man, we have a problem. Oh great. I guess we'll try this. Enter your username for maintenance. Enter your password. I think it's 123, or maybe it's password. Oh great. Alright, well we have to reinstall. Okay. So I guess we'll do that. Yeah, this is where it gets kind of terrible. Alright, so I'm not going to sit and make anyone watch the laborious copying procedure, but here's what you do. You do DVR2 CMSX. For those of you that haven't seen this program, it's basically an augmented DDR that can use CMS files. So we do input CMS sol 200 image A, and then output 200 DASD, restore all. Yep, that's right. And now we wait. So let's wait. Alright, easy as that. See, I told you it would be so bad. That only took 30 minutes on my end. Okay, so that's how long it took. The image is actually pretty big. It's like 5 gigabytes. Anyways, so at this point we can IPL 191, and this time hopefully the root FS isn't corrupted. Except this means we're gonna have to go through and reconfigure the whole darn thing, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and queue up the root default password because I know I'm gonna need it. It's fish face, but in lead speak. Yeah, but it's really a shame that this project never really materialized. But I will say that having examined the source code of this, I think that it's in a good point where if anyone really is interested in taking this operating system further, I think we're in a good point to do so. Now, I'm not like trying to solicit help here, but the source code is available. It is floating around. I will put a link to it in the description of this video where I have located it on GitHub of someone who very graciously archived it, rather than the terrible thing I did where I extracted it from the release notes PDF or something like that. Alright. I think we're getting there. At least that's what I think. Oh yeah, there's no cross compiler for this, unfortunately. The source code to the compiler wasn't saved that I can tell, so that's going to throw a wrench in the works. But right now it doesn't have drivers for anything, and it must be run under VM. I probably sort of implied that earlier, but I didn't really outright say like, hey, you have to run this on VM, but you have to run this on VM. There's no two ways about it. You have no choice. But with that being said, I'm sure that STL Hyperion could be modified to run it. I'd be interested to see if anyone's able to do that. But the goal of this video is we're going to get it up and running, we're going to get TCP/IP working, we're going to attempt to get sendmail to work, and we're going to at least attempt to compile a program. And the program I always compile is Lua. It tends to be relatively easy to compile. We are not trying X. There is no X support on here, and I'm not really in the mood to try to port xlib and xintrinsics, but if I did, I would do a simple motif program. I might demonstrate that in the future, but of course, like all things X on a mainframe, it's going to be done remotely. Alright, I went ahead and paused while at IPO because this is slow as mud. I apologize. This is running on the slowest possible machine I could get this to go on. The machine I'm running this on caps out at 180 MIPS per processor. It's a junky Z15. I do apologize for that, but we're getting really close. Also, yes, we are going to test ZFS. I know, right? Yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad, but we'll at least attempt to get that to work. I mean, I've already tested all of this. I also kind of intentionally corrupted the root file system. If you shut it down prematurely, it will pretty much hose it. You can't really shut the system down at all, so keep that in mind. If anyone does go out and attempt to run this, you're probably going to nuke it at least 20 times, so make sure that you don't get too attached to it. But we're gonna try all of that. Okay, we're finally here. So we'll go ahead and log in as root with password that's the default password on here. Last login, never. So as far as it's concerned, this was cut from this particular development branch. So December the 12th of 2008 is where the source code fork occurred. So as far as I'm concerned, this is as new as it's going to get. This is the second release. The first release, who knows, I'm never going to find it. But this is the second release. If we do a mount, you'll see that we do have this as our root file system. And if we go to /dev/disk ls-l, you'll be able to see that a lot of these map to actual DASDs. So C0D512S3, it corresponds to this. So obviously we want this right here. So we'll copy that. We will attempt to import a ZFS pool, but first, the first thing we need to do is we need to get networking working. So if we do ifconfig, sorry, this is Solaris, you have to do ifconfig-a. There we go, there's our open systems adapter, easy as that. So ifconfig OSA0 192.168.5.2 should be okay. And then we'll do a route add default 192.168.5.1. Now at this point, we can now ping the VMCMS machine, and I can also ping my workstation. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to a normal terminal here, and we're going to telnet into it. And we're going to, okay, oh that's right, yeah, we need to start inetd. Okay, and also we probably should add a dedicated user, but we're going to do that later, because if we look at /etc/password, you'll see that there's nobody. Okay, that went by really fast. And retrieve doesn't work. You'll see that the only one here is just root, and that's basically, hey, at least we have XM4 installed. That's always a upside. And we also have Python. That's right, that was a major flex point, is that this came with Python and a C compiler. Which I'm serious, it actually has a real legit C compiler, and it's pretty new. But we're gonna take a look at that a little bit later. But first, we got to get our crap together. We have OpenSSH running, but seeing how slow this already is, as is, we should probably not use OpenSSH. So we're going to do svc adm enable inetd, and then svc adm restart inetd. At least I think it's restart. Yeah, it is. I'm a little bit rough on my Solarising. I'm not used to this new svc adm stuff. Okay, now we can go back over here and we can telnet in. So you have to wait an exorbitantly long time for it to presumably... What? Okay, that's not what I expected. Okay, so that's no good. I suppose we will have to add a user. So to do that, it's not so hard. we will just copy and paste in some commands straight out of the manual, which is arguably not the best way to do things, but it will be okay for our efforts today. And we will SSH in. 123 is always a good password, I say. Alright, and then we'll go back over here and we're going to try this again, except this time, no, sorry, muscle memory, test user 168.5.2. And hopefully this is new enough to work. If not, we'll just modify the terminal settings. I'm looking at putty. Okay, yeah, alright, we're gonna have to do the old SSH trick. Okay, turns out all I had to do is restart inetd. Okay, so we're in, and you can really see how wonderfully slow this is. So we got root on the console, and we have test user on our PTY here, and we're going to now sg root. So now all we have to do is punch in that awful password I forgot, which as I scroll through here I know is going to be obnoxious to find. Alright, there we go. And first thing we're going to do is change it to 123, obviously. Yeah, I just gotta watch out for that. Anyways, okay. So at this point, we can now configure stuff. So hostname. If you've ever used OpenSolaris, you're probably pretty familiar with this here. It's just the same old that you'd get on literally any other version of OpenSolaris from the era, or really even today. And this node name is ridiculous. We're going to change it because we're rad and cool to Solaris, obviously, for all the cool factor. And I apologize for the racket of the Windows ding sounds. That's my terminal bell. Anyway, we can also edit our hosts file, which we will definitely need to do. None of these exist. Great, I love having a backspace in a file name. That's never going that's never going to be fixed. Yeah, I apparently just saved a file name that has a backspace in it. We're not going to worry about that one. We'll leave that to the people who have completed Over the Wire Bandit, if you know that like shell challenge. I'll leave that to that person to figure out. Okay, we'll go ahead and configure our DNS resolver too. Domain, we'll just do, I don't know, local domain. Good enough to me. And then this will be our name server, and I should be able to ping just something on the local domain here. And if all is well, that ping should come back. Of course, after it takes 45 minutes to do a DNS lookup. This is like the slowest of the slow. I'm scared to run top. Let's run it anyways. Oh, here we go. You can see we're not using much memory. We do have swap. This is the swap that it has, which of course is paged onto the actual disk, because it's a V disk and it's being emulated by CPU. Sorry, not by CPU, by CP. Okay. At this point, we should be good to go. So let's attempt to do that ZFS pool thing. So if we cd/dev/disk, we'll look again, even though we already looked at it. We're going to look at these symlinks. Oh great, what's the problem now? You can't tell me it takes this long to list files. This is like the worst of the worst. Okay, well, never mind. There we go. Okay, so this right here, 201. So alright. Now, if you're familiar with the zpool command, you know that you can do zpool import and then the pool. Actually, we can actually do several commands instead. We'll just attach instead. Okay, I made the fatal mistake of assuming that the pool already existed. It didn't. It's completely offline. So we'll just do the usual, which is zpool import this. If you've ever used ZFS in your life, you know that's how you do it. Oh, great. Looks like it was successful. Faulted. Well, doesn't that just suck? Actually, if we do mount, you'll see that it is definitely not mounted. So we're going to do zpool destroy test pool. Don't actually do that. And then we should have, in theory, nothing. Oh, okay, still there. Alright. Zpool import test pool. That's right, they're out of the box. There is a small, tiny sliver of data on the default partition called test pool. And you must delete test pool so you can import a pool with the same name that I foolishly named the same thing on the previous dry run of practicing for this video. So now if we do zpool list, you'll see it's in here now, and it's about 700 megabytes, which is of course 1,000 cylinders of a 3390. And then we can do ZFS list as well, and it will be automatically mounted. So we can do c/test pool and then user data, and then if we do df dot, you'll see that this is actually a legit ZFS file system. So we do have ZFS working on Solaris. Now the question is can you boot and root off of ZFS? Yes, you can, but we're not going to demonstrate that because it takes way too long to configure and generate another kernel. But if you use the special kernel option when you boot to not automatically mount the root file system and instead just stay in the RAM disk, you can say, hey, okay, go into mount this and chroot into that and execute init. So yes, you can do that, except I'm not going to do that in this video. That might be something for a future video. Of course, now we want to actually compile programs and such. But we'll go ahead and get out of root and we'll go back to our location. And now we are going to FTP down exactly what we need. Okay, so in order to get the Lewis source, we'll FTP it off of a Windows NT file server, which probably works. No, it doesn't. Great, good spelling. Alright. Sorry, my keyboard key just popped off in the midst of that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pull this down, which will probably take forever to transfer. You can see how beautiful that network speed was. And now we can extract this file. Go ahead and type make, except we have two processors, so we can actually do two. Oh yes, wonderful. Rather than aliasing it, we will just do this. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Why do I have DOS line return? Who knows? Alright, so we are now compiling, and oh, compiler options invalid. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. That should work. Compiler options invalid. Unix 03, and I guess we'll just do -std equals C99. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna do -03 on that, because I can imagine how bad that's gonna end up going. Oh my gosh, come on. Oh, it's not reading C flags. Wow, I should probably have practiced this beforehand. Wait a minute, C flags. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the old trick here. For F in star.c, do echo $s, GCC-C. Wait, status. Yeah, okay, C99. When in doubt. We'll do a one-liner. Okay, well, I'm not going to sit and make anyone watch this. So, in the meantime, we are going to look at other interesting things on the system. So we'll just background that, if it actually would work. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, we'll go ahead and look and see how beautifully unstable this is. So, this right here, the moment that you attempt to access any of those special disks, it will discover, basically it will discover where it is. Now, it's looking for this MDB mod. No clue what that is, but clearly it does not have some rather important symbols, but that's not an issue. And then, of course, this log is going to say, blah, 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 this game's coming out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, do we have SAR? We do have SAR. Nope, we don't have SAR. Oh well, okay. Over here, you'll see that we are very graciously compiling. So, while that sits and cooks and runs, we're going to continue looking around the system. And I went ahead and kicked off another terminal here. So let's go to /user and see what we have at our disposal. The reality is, actually we have some pretty good stuff. So we'll go ahead and look here in forlib. And no clue what's in here, I haven't actually looked. Okay, great, so we have a dynamic loader. Alright, well that's pretty self-explanatory. And, oh yeah, and this I know this sounds ridiculous, but yes, the system has a dynamic loader. It's just that someone's going to say, boom, 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 Solaris doesn't have dynamic linking. Yes, someone actually tried to tell me that. Oh well. Okay, 5bin, these are all, if I'm not mistaken, they're either symlinks or the directory that we're in is a symlink to bin, and it literally exists only to provide compatibility. Yeah, it's just a symlink. Yep, 5bin is literally just bin. Alright, I know what you're saying. Holy smokes, we have Apache? Well, let me just bore you to tears. Not really. Unfortunately, it's literally just some headers. And then the best part is there's actually no libraries. So if you ask me, that's a good candidate to just be removed from the system. I don't think there's anything in demo. Yeah, there are. We got a dtrace demo. Oh yeah, by the way, this does actually have working dtrace. I think. No, it doesn't. Never mind. Okay, sorry. Not to get anyone's hopes up, but dtrace is a pretty darn cool program on Solaris 10. Okay, CCS has, of course, the development tools, which, at least here, are not GCC. These are your System 5 development tools. That's because LD is actually not GCC's LD, it's actually Solaris's LD, okay? We obviously don't have CC, but we do have GCC. And yes, it's pretty new, as we saw earlier. But with that being said, it's still perfectly capable of getting things done. This one, actually we'll explore this piece by piece. So, I know this may seem misleading, but there are no Spark 9 modules. It literally exists only for the sake of file system naming compatibility. So we have all the usual stuff you'd expect: UFS, ZFS, UDFS, NFS, and then of course High Sierra file system. Alright, so yeah, I think everyone gets that. You can mount CDs on here, but how you're going to get a CD drive attached is beyond me. I guess you could try to cram it in something. So we have a MISC. If you've ever dealt with like the modularity of a Solaris kernel, you'll know sort of how this sort of what this looks like. So there's something that's very important for our existence on a mainframe. Oh, and this is doing SCSI emulation, so keep that in mind. This isn't as bad as some people would say that it is. I'm very impressed with this. Okay, platform. Yeah, guess what? None of this is really what we need, but we do have s390x, and this does have something in it that we might be interested in. If you can probably imagine what I'm looking at here, Unix is the kernel. Yes, and specifically, the kernel here is 64-bit, but if you recall earlier, there was actually a 32-bit library in here. If I go back to /user and cd4lib, this is itself actually 32-bit. However, if that being said, there is no 32-bit version of this. If I do file which GCC, you'll see that it itself is also 64-bit, or like file which ls. Like pretty much everything on here is 64-bit. I mean, well, there you go, ls is 32-bit. But this does imply the existence of at least 32-bit capability, because this can load 32-bit architectured programs. Now my question is, this is a question I haven't really bothered to answer, is would it be possible then to port this to a System 390 rather than have it stuck on a System Z? Because there's clearly the ability to run 32-bit and 64-bit programs here. If we go back to the root directory and we look in lib, for instance, file libc.star, libc itself is actually 32-bit, but you'll also notice here we have s390 and s390x. And of course there's a ton of libraries in here, so we'll do something basic like libc. Oh, that's right, this is recursive listing, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Oh, yep, s390 is recursive, see? And s390x is where the 64-bit libraries are. So if I do libc.star, here this one will actually be 64-bit. Okay, do we have LDD? Yeah, we should have LDD. And then this right here will tell us what our library dependencies are. Holy smokes, okay. Anyway, yeah, these are all 32-bit because they're all /user/lib, but if I do LDD which GCC, this will give a demonstration of a 64-bit program. See, lib64, and then this 64 thing itself is a symlink to s390x. Okay, so this is a bimodal system. This is 32 and 64-bit. Very impressive, if I do say so myself. And this is something that most people have completely forgotten. Okay, but at this point, we want to do something cool. We want to, like, I don't know, do like anything useful with this. So let's start analyzing what we can do. Okay, so we have in here at least something of use, and that is XM4. We saw some hints to it earlier, but it itself is not an executable program. But if we cat/etc/password, you'll see that there is a reference to it, but that doesn't mean that there's really anything here. Now, if we go and look in some of these interesting directories, you'll actually kind of gain some knowledge out of here, because this is right here is clearly a cut of the system that was used to develop this system. So if we go to /export/home, nice muscle memory there, we do actually have Neil Ferguson's account. Yes, really. There's a ton of stuff here. Everything you could need to build the system is here. Yeah, so let's just see what we have. I've been saving the best for last. We have Python. We have binutils. We have diffutils. We have expat. We have flex. We have GDB. And I think the GDB version actually works. As far as I know, yeah, there we go. So we have a working GDB. We have wget. I mean, we literally have everything you can ever possibly imagine. We might as well look around and have some fun while we can. So as you can see, there is an evidence, or there is at least a hint, that Java exists, as well as VMCP. If we look at vmcp.c, you'll see that it is pretty much just a direct wrapper for a system call that executes a cp command. So you can probably imagine what this does. If you've ever used Z Linux, then you'll know how Z Solaris's cp command works. So if we do vmcpqv, never mind, not owner. That's because, oh great, this is gonna, okay. We need to do this. Let's see if this works. Okay. Oh, well, alright. So not thinking, yeah, okay. That's weird. Oh yeah, there's NJE support on here? Yeah, I'll be the judge of that. Okay, well VMCP doesn't work. I think it's set UID'd. Nope, it's not set UID'd. Okay, interesting. Okay, well, nonetheless, there was an error that it spat out. Probably because SU treats you a little bit differently than you think it does on Linux. It's a little bit different on Solaris for referencing who actually is currently logged in. Okay, but we do have this Java thing. But okay, sorry, I'm spelling it Java. It's clearly just running like $home / GNU. See, $home. So you know what we're gonna do? cd GNU. Oh, wonderful. Let's see if we can find that directory. My guess is probably not. We'll try anyways. What in the world is this? Underscore equals? Oh well. I guess we can just visually look. Oh, perfect, there's a Java directory. Well, I don't think that's gonna work. Okay, well, we'll try other stuff regardless. Let's see. This is probably already compiled. Yeah, it is. Brilliant. Okay, well, we should be able to download a file. And actually, there should be a wget already in the path. Based on that, I'm guessing not. Okay, that's fine. So we'll wget let's see if that works. Alright. Do you have bash? Yes. Wonderful. Alright, well, nonetheless, let's quit wasting too much time. We do have Lua. Except we need to link it. See how long this takes to go. And honestly, I'm relatively surprised with just how turnkey this system really is. I mean, it's a little bit on the weird oh no. It's a little bit on the weird side, but it's really not that bad. You're basically restoring a dump of a running system. I'm gonna warn you, if you don't have CKD DASDs on your hobbyist mainframe, you're gonna need to find a way to do it. Or you can take that Sol 200 file, spin up Hercules or something, install a VM on that, and then take that file and then just dump it straight to a mini disk that you've reserved. It's in the release notes manual. Okay, well at this point we can write some sick Lua programs, like I totally know what I'm doing. So let's queue something up. I guess we'll just try a simple for loop here. Oops. There's no. Oops. Why did I say done? I'm thinking like a shell programmer. There we go. Looks good to me. And this right here, 64-bit, big Indian, dynamically linked executable. Now the question is, can we do a 32-bit version? Well, I suppose we can try it. Also, I noticed how slow that file listing was. Apparently ZFS is faster. The lag is just killing me. I struggle to type on a laggy keyboard. Alright. And once... Oh, that sucks. Yeah. Well, maybe there's something in the wonderful manual pal. There's nothing. Maybe we can get this thing to output 32-bit code. Nope, we sure can't. Oh well, that's a shame. Yeah, so I guess at some point there was some kind of transitionary effort to take it from 32-bit to 64-bit, and during that transitionary effort, the 32-bit compiler functionality was lost. Now, this is a 4.2.3. I also have a 4.3.3, so I'm going to go ahead and kick off an FTP into the system to do that. I just wanted to remark while I sit and wait for the FTP to transfer, for the FTP to complete, looking here at PERFSVM, or as I like to call it, FCONMON, after the original name for it, we can see here that TCP/IP is actually doing a pretty decent bit of processing to sit here and execute all that routing instruction. So total CPU is quite a ways higher than Vert CPU on this, so not too bad. And you can see it's executing a ton of Diag 98 execute CCW. That of course is driving the LAN channel station adapter. And of course you can see Soldist over here absolutely ripping. EME, by the way, no, that's not Earth, Moon, Earth, that's ESA modal extensions, so systemd. If we look at it, we can take a pretty good detailed look at this here, and you can see it's doing an unknown amount of total CPU. That's the thing about FCONMON, is it's kinda lacking in information reporting at times. Anyway, you can see that it's kinda doing hard here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to graphics selection, and we're gonna do a simple plot, because that's all we can do. And you can see there's a huge bump, and then it came back down right when the FTP finished. So now we're going to come back over here, and we're going to extract that, and we're going to watch it absolutely rip. So to do that, we of course need to be root. So we will go cd/, and then we will, because this it's going to overlay into user local, so we do tar xvf. Well, that's not really going to help with performance, but okay. /test pool /user data. Paste in that. Oh, that's right. We can't do this. Tar xvzf. Does that work? No, it does not. Great. We got a cd/export home meal, and we got to see if we have a version of tar. We don't have a version of tar that speaks gzip. Okay, we'll just dgzip then. Let's see how slow this is. Oh, great. We don't even have gzip. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't think we'd have to compile. Okay. Where is it? It has to be somewhere in here. Let's see. I mean, I don't want to do find dot grep gzip because that's just ridiculous. Oh, I guess we're gonna have to make it. I didn't even see a make file. I see a make file. Wow, this is pretty rough. Okay. Holy ever-loving smokes. This is gonna take 20 years to run. This is just rough. Okay, anyway. By the way, Linux absolutely rips on this particular machine, so this just sucks. Okay, well, if we refresh, you can see that we've kind of picked back up here. Well, okay, CPU usage has dropped, but okay, to be fair, that's not much of a difference. Alright, let's get out of here. CPU load and user transactions. You can see just how poorly loaded down the CPUs are in this machine. Which is to say pretty bad, with Soldist absolutely ripping and TCP/IP second place. Okay, this gzip is compiling right now. I'm actually going to do a make-j2 on it. Anyway, while we're at it, we'll keep looking. Let's see, how about DASD load? Well, not super handy. Multitasking users? Multitasking is something you're already going to see with the CMS reusable server kernel. So yeah, off serve, you can probably guess what that is. It's Office Vision VM. Anyways, we'll just leave it here on this. Actually, simple plot I think is gonna, line graphics I think requires a JVM thing. Oh, this is like the worst of the worst. This is what happens when you write a web app in assembly language. Yeah, see, we don't have Java on here. Oh well, that's fine. I didn't want to use it anyways. Okay, let's stay focused here, because this is only going to get worse from here on out. I'm really doing this operating system justice, really. And yeah, we are having to recompile gzip, but we should be there pretty soon. Oh great, yes, please don't make the documentation. Okay, great, this is where it actually compiles like the program itself. Bit, script, I think just like 3 more files and then it's good. And this is compiling 64-bit, I think. We're gonna find out, because there's a lot of these options on here that are kind of suspect for a few reasons, but we're gonna see if it's 32 or 64-bit. If it is 32-bit, then this would have given us valuable insight. So now we, at this point, it just has to link the program. Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe there's still some left. But soon it will link, and then we can de-gzip or ungzip, I don't know, gunzip our C compiler update, and then we will extract it, and then we will have hopefully a newer C compiler, and then from there we can go absolutely off the rails. Okay, yeah, so this is just gonna take forever. Okay, well that was quick and painless. It actually finished up not too long ago. So we should have gzip. Okay, thank goodness it is 64-bit, so we'll just copy that to user local bin. Okay, that was so misspelled, I can't believe it. Alright, so export path equals, I got low confidence that this is going to work, but we're going to see. Nope. Alright, so cd/test, what was it, test pool? I don't even know. Yep, test pool. The lag is real. I mean, I'm literally facing about a half second at most. Alright, great. So now we're going to wait 45 minutes for that, and while we wait on it, we can ogle over the painfully hopeless information on the console, where we can also do stuff like cp indicate. So yeah, we're absolutely pumping it here. We're using 25% of all the processors on the system, which is correct. There's 8 processors and we've got 2 pegged, so yeah, we're using 25% of the processors, alright. Come back over here and refresh. You can see all was good until we really started hitting the disk here, though it's going to take a while for that to go. Oh, by the way, FCONMON's really advanced. Not only does it work over AppCVM, it also works over TCP/IP. So if any of you VM hobbyists out there want the best performance monitor, you just can't beat FCONMON. By the way, there is a version of it for VMESA, but it only runs if your date's before 1999. It's in the VMESA demo package. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Mini disk cache. Well, we can't do much caching because it's a giant mini disk. System log. Oh, sure. Show me all the SFS servers. Yay. Off servers doing nothing. VM serve as. Nothing. It's always fun to sit and click through these menus while you're waiting on something cool to happen, because it's going to be a while. Processor load and config. How about processor load by processor and time? Ah yes, this takes samples over time. By the way, when FCONMON produces a printout, please make sure you don't actually have it hooked up to a real printer, because it will spit out about 1 million of these. So You have been warned. LPAR, well, there's only one LPAR, so it won't really matter. System configuration. Who even knows? This is kind of unhelpful. Wow, I'm not in Greenwich. Yay. So when in doubt, just sit here and stare at the menu. That's the problem with Solaris, is the disk performance is an absolute abomination. Left up to me, I would mount this on a much more advanced system, if you will, and then just populate the disks that way, but we can't. So we're stuck. We're stuck waiting forever. Maybe one day it will finish. Until then, we rot. Alright, well that took 45 years, but now at this point we can cd slash tar xvf slash testpool user data slash this without that. And now we wait even more. Okay, so that was actually way quicker to extract. That actually took a whopping minute. I'm not even kidding. That basically took no time at all. So actually I should probably see what GCC it wants to run. I know it's going to want to run the old... What in the world? Oh no. You gotta be kidding me. I already killed it. Oh. Well, the upside of that is that... What? Hold on. Can I run anything? Let's see. 4.2.3. This, we need 4.3.3, so user local. Oh. I love how slow this is. Oh, come on! This was advertised as GCC 4.3.3, not 4.2.3. Well, I guess it is what it is. There was... I'm looking through the archive now, and sure enough, yeah, it's, oh well. You know what? I guess that's about as good as it's gonna get it. I also guess I burned enough time in here, but I suppose we can have one last hurrah. We can try to send ourselves an email. So, in knowing this, we should be able to telnet to a mail server I have. It's literally just a test Exchange 2010 that I have running for fun. By the way, Exchange 2010 still holds up pretty well in the modern day. Ooh, unable to connect. Oh, wow, I forgot port 25. Alright. Well, this should work. Hopefully. I've got low yep, okay. Brilliant. Now, we should be able to... Let's just try. Oh no. There's no... Oh, wait, hang on. We might be able to... Please be the... Oh no. This is gonna be terrible. Thanks, I hate not having the sendmail.mc file. Yeah, what MC file? Actually, there might be one around here. We'll do a find dot grep dash ice. We don't need that. It's gotta be around here somewhere. Oh yeah, that's right, instance CF. Let's just make double sure that this is good. This is a 1993 version. Honestly, this should be okay. I think. Okay. It's not gonna be anything to make, but we'll do it anyways. Oh yeah, wonderful. That's really clever. And then we'll just copy sendmail.cf to /etc/mail. I love how it thinks it's a Solaris 9, I'm sorry, Solaris 8 version of sendmail. I mean, they're probably not wrong. sendmail on Solaris was quite slow to update. So while we wait on this M4, I'll tell briefly about what the plan is. So we're going to attempt to use this sendmail on here to send and receive email to another system, specifically one that really doesn't care. I've already plugged in a host record in my DNS server, so we should be, in theory, reasonably okay. So we just have to wait on this. Alright, 20 years later I finally got it, so here we go. Tide user 1, sendmail 8.14. So that'll tell you how old this is. Now at this point, we can probably mail ourselves. So we'll just try something ridiculous. Oh, that's right, the mail program hasn't opened yet, because it will sit there and ask for a subject. Or not. Please don't log me out. Oh, wow. I'm legitimately surprised how slow that really is. Oh well, I guess we'll come back to it in a minute. Okay, well, we got some progress. We can at least loop an email back, but something a little bit odd happened here. It went to the wrong address, so we gotta manipulate the hostname of the machine in order to make that work. So let me do that now. Alright, well that was an absolute disaster to get working, but I think I got it. So let's go ahead and read our mail file here. Brilliant. This is a test. This is a test, or not. You know what? Not bad. Ignore the fact that this one failed. Yeah, I'm really not surprised. It didn't go so hot, but all in all, I think that's a pretty good success. So if that, oh great, we've got more mail. Yeah, that's just beautifully broken. Oh well. If you ask me, that's plenty. Well, for better or for worse. I mean, granted, this was kind of a bad experience in general, but with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and shut down right now. Oh, beautiful. We want to shut down right now. And it's very important that you actually use the shutdown command, because it will sync to the disks. If you don't sync, you will hose the system. And I hear a terminal dinging in the background telling me that, yeah, log off now. I'm aware. There we go. The system is coming down for administration. Now, of course, this will throw you into single user mode, which is okay. We can cope with that. But all in all, I have to say, for a prototype, this is pretty good. I mean, it feels like some kind of experimental operating system. It definitely feels like something that was never really meant to be, but here we are running it. Of course, Polaris ended up gaining way more. And for those that forgot, Polaris is the codename for the PowerPC OpenSolaris. This is, of course, Cirrus. Yes, obviously I need to launch Alpha Centauri, which is, of course, Solaris for MIPS. No. Alright, there we go. Enter username for system. Oh, beautiful. I love how involved the shutdown procedure is. Alright, root. Alright, and then from here, we'll do init 0. And this will take us out for good. Yeah, I know, I could have done that initially, but I like to try to take it down in a slow procedure. And system services will now be stopped. There are, well, or I guess there are many more messages when you're shutting down than when you are starting up. I don't know why that is, but it's pretty odd. Also, if you go read the release notes manual, which we should do right now. Oh, wonderful. There we go. Let's go ahead and queue that up. This right here tells you all the secrets you want to know. Normally I'd print this out and flip through it, but who wants to do that? There's those commands I entered for that user. This right here, here's how you prepare a mini disk. You basically just reserve it, and then if it detects a disk has been reserved, it will take it. There's if you want to generate another boot disk. Oh yeah, this is important. If you want to make an FBA, if anyone out there wants to actually run this and you don't have CKD capability on your mainframe, do this procedure. You'll need, at some point, you'll need to do it on an emulation, so either do it on Hercules or ZPDT, but that's how you move that over. But I think we should be shut down by now, which I'm proud to say, holy smokes, we survived the horrible pain and suffering. There you go, folks, you saw it here first. Solaris for System Z.